The sound of Cairo at dawn is unlike anywhere else in the world. The city never truly sleeps. It hums, it breathes, it vibrates with life. The call to prayer echoes across rooftops. Taxis honk in the distance. And somewhere in the maze of narrow streets, a young boy ties his worn-out boots for the 100th time. His name is Omar. He is small, quiet, but his eyes carry something fierce. Not anger, but fire. Every morning before school, he runs to the same dusty street corner where the neighborhood boys gather. The ball is old, its leather cracked, its air half gone, but to them it's the world. For Omar, it's more than that. It's escape. It's promise. It's the rhythm that makes everything else make sense. He grew up in a neighborhood where the buildings leaned into each other like tired men. The streets were crowded, the air heavy, but the energy was endless. If you can survive Cairo, his father used to say, you can survive anywhere. His parents weren't rich, not even close. His father worked long hours, and his mother ran the home with quiet discipline. They didn't talk much about dreams. Dreams were luxuries. But they saw what football did to Omar, how it changed the way he moved, how his eyes lit up when he played. Let him play, his mother said one night when his father worried about his grades. This is his school. And so he played, on concrete, on sand, in the heat, in the dust. Cairo wasn't kind to dreamers, but it rewarded the ones who refused to give up. The local tournaments were chaos. Hundreds of boys chasing one ball, shouting, fighting, laughing. But even in that noise, Omar stood out. Not because he was the strongest or the fastest, but because he understood rhythm. He didn't rush, he waited. He moved differently, like a musician who already knew the next note before anyone else. He doesn't run at the ball, one old coach said. He lets the ball come to him. When he was 10, he joined a local youth club. The fields were rough, the facilities poor, but it was a start. The coach saw his spark immediately. He's not loud, he told Omar's father. But when he plays, everyone listens. The boy trained endlessly, staying long after practice to juggle, dribble, repeat. His shoes wore out quickly. He didn't mind. When I'm on the pitch, he said once, I don't feel the ground. By 13, he was playing against older boys. They pushed him, fouled him, mocked him, but he never reacted. He'd get up, dust himself off, and play on. He has patience, his coach said. The kind that wins wars. That patience became his armor. Cairo could be cruel, but it couldn't break him. Football in Egypt was passion, but also politics. To get noticed, you needed connections, scouts, and sometimes luck. Omar had none of those, but he had persistence. He showed up to every trial, every open camp, every chance to prove himself. Most of the time, he was ignored. Too thin, too quiet, too raw, but every rejection sharpened him. I used to think I wasn't good enough, he said years later. Then I realized I just had to work harder than everyone else. At 16, his breakthrough came. A chance to join Wadi Degla SC, one of Egypt's more modern clubs known for its focus on youth. It wasn't a glamorous offer, but to Omar it was everything. His first day there, he arrived an hour early. The training ground felt like paradise. Green grass, real goals, uniforms that matched. This is what I dreamed of, he whispered to himself. The coaches noticed his intensity immediately. He plays like someone who's been waiting his whole life for this, one of them said. At Wadi Degla, he learned structure. Positioning, pressing, teamwork. It was no longer just about instinct. It was about understanding. He struggled at first. His street football habits didn't fit the system. But he adapted quickly. Discipline, his coach would shout. Discipline, Omar. And he listened. Every word, every correction he absorbed like scripture. Within a year, he was one of the academy's brightest prospects. But Egypt's football scene was unpredictable. Clubs rose and fell, politics interfered, and opportunities vanished overnight. Many players got lost in the system. Talented, forgotten, replaced. Omar refused to be one of them. He started watching European matches obsessively, not for fun, but for education. He studied the movements of players like Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane, and Marco Reus. He didn't just watch goals. He watched how they built them. The runs, the timing, the awareness. I wanted to understand their brains, he said. When he turned 18, he was promoted to Wadi Degla's first team. His debut was modest, a few minutes off the bench, but to him it was sacred. The first time you play as a professional, he said, you stop being a dreamer and start being responsible. That word, responsible, became central to how he saw everything. He wasn't just playing for himself now. He was playing for Cairo, for his family, for every kid who still kicked a flat ball in the dust. The league was tough, physical, unforgiving. But Omar's game had something different. Patience under pressure. He'd take hits, keep dribbling, smile through tackles. He's fearless, his captain said. He doesn't flinch. The fans noticed too. Slowly they started chanting his name. Marmoush. Marmoush! Wasn't fame yet, but it was a beginning. Then came the call that changed everything. A scout from VfL Wolfsburg had been watching Egyptian matches, looking for young talent. He saw a recording of Omar, his composure, his control, his vision, and reached out. Wolfsburg wanted to bring him to Germany. For Omar, it sounded unreal. I thought it was a joke, he said. But it wasn't. Within weeks, the paperwork was ready. His family gathered in their small living room the night before his flight. His father hugged him tightly. You're leaving home, he said, but don't lose yourself. The next morning, Cairo's chaos felt different. The same streets he'd played on for years looked smaller, quieter. This city raised me, he thought. Now I have to show it what I've become. He boarded the plane with a single bag. Clothes, boots, and a small Quran his mother pressed into his hand. Keep this, she said. When you're lost, read. He promised he would. The flight to Germany was long, silent. He stared out the window most of the way, watching the desert fade into clouds. I don't know what's waiting for me, he thought. But I'll find my rhythm. He landed in a new world. Cold air, new language, unfamiliar faces. Everything was different, even the sky. It smelled like distance, he said. But beneath the uncertainty there was excitement. He wasn't afraid. He was curious. That night, in his small apartment near Wolfsburg's training ground, he sat alone, listening to the hum of a foreign city. No friends, no family, just him and the sound of his heartbeat. This is where it begins again, he whispered. He took out his boots, placed them neatly by the door, and prayed quietly. The streets of Cairo were far behind him, but they lived inside him. The dust, the noise, the rhythm. That was his compass. That was home. He knew the road ahead would be brutal. New culture, new expectations, no safety net. But he had already learned the most important lesson of all, that dreams don't come to those who shout loudest. They come to those who keep moving quietly when no one's watching. In the silence of that German night, Omar Marmoush closed his eyes and smiled. Tomorrow, he said softly, we start again. Germany was quiet, too quiet. After the noise of Cairo, the stillness felt almost heavy. No shouts in the streets, no music from open windows, no chaos. Just order. The buses arrived on time. People walked with purpose, and the sky hung low and gray like a soft curtain over everything. For a boy who had grown up surrounded by sound, the silence was almost shocking. It's strange, Omar thought. Back home, life was loud. Here it whispers. His first days in Wolfsburg were full of confusion. The language sounded like sharp edges. He didn't understand the words, only the tone. Cold but disciplined. The food tasted different, the air felt heavier. Even the football seemed to move differently on the wet grass. You learn everything again, he said later. Even how to breathe. At the training ground, he realized immediately this was not Cairo. Every drill was timed. Every pass measured. Every mistake noticed. The coaches didn't shout. They observed. That scared him more. Back home, a coach's anger meant they cared. Here, silence meant you were being judged. They watch everything, he said. Even when you think they're not. Omar's first sessions were rough. His touch was too heavy, his decisions too quick. He played like the streets, fast, raw, instinctive. But Germany demanded patience, structure, precision. You can't play chaos here, one assistant coach told him. You play systems. He nodded, even though he barely understood. That night he stayed late, practicing his first touch alone, over and over. Left foot, right foot, again and again, until the ball finally obeyed. They will not send me home, he whispered. The cultural shock went deeper than football. In Cairo, he was surrounded by family, noise, laughter. In Wolfsburg, his apartment was silent except for the hum of the fridge. He missed his mother's cooking, his father's voice, the smell of coffee and sand. Loneliness crept in quietly like the German winter. You learn who you are when no one calls your name, he said. You learn to talk to yourself. Some nights he sat by the window, looking out at the street lights, snow falling softly on the empty road. This is the price, he thought. This is what chasing a dream feels like. He prayed before bed, whispering words from home, grounding himself in faith. That prayer became his anchor. 5 times a day, 5 chances to breathe. On the pitch, he slowly began to adjust. The coaches noticed his work ethic, how he arrived early, how he stayed late, how he listened without arguing. He learns fast, they said. And he did. He watched his teammates closely, how they moved, how they pressed, how they recovered after losing the ball. German football, he said, isn't about playing fast. It's about thinking fast. After a few months, the improvement showed. His control became cleaner, his positioning smarter, his movements sharper. But minutes on the field were rare. Wolfsburg's first team was full of experienced players, and the competition was brutal. "You wait," his coach told him. "Your time will come." Waiting, he knew that word well. He'd been waiting his whole life. To keep rhythm, he was loaned out. First to FC St. Pauli in the 2nd division. Hamburg was louder, rougher, more alive than Wolfsburg. The fans were wild, the stadium full of smoke and song. For the first time in months, Omar felt something familiar. Chaos. "This feels like home," he smiled. But the football was still German. Structured, physical, fast. He had to find a way to blend the two worlds. The rhythm of Cairo and the discipline of Germany. At St. Pauli, he learned resilience. The league was brutal. Cold nights, muddy pitches, tackles that hurt. But he loved it. "Every game feels like war," he said. "And I like war." He began scoring, creating, running endlessly. The fans started chanting his name, and suddenly, the boy who had once been alone in Wolfsburg was now a hero in Hamburg. Marmoush. Marmoush! The sound gave him strength. It was the first time he realized he could belong somewhere new. His coach at St. Pauli loved him for his spirit. "He never stops running," he said. "Even when he's exhausted." That energy, that relentless drive, became his identity. He didn't just play football, he fought football. And yet he never lost his calm. "He's like a storm with control," the coach said. That balance, aggression with serenity, became his trademark. The fans adored his humility. After matches, while others took photos, Omar signed autographs slowly, smiling at every child who asked. "They remind me of me," he said. Dreaming with nothing but a ball, he didn't forget where he came from. Even with his first European paycheck, he sent money home to his parents. "They sacrificed everything," he said. "Now it's my turn." But the journey was far from easy. There were setbacks, injuries, games on the bench, homesickness. "Some days you wake up and think, what am I doing here?" he admitted. But then you touch the ball and everything makes sense again. Football remained his language, his therapy, his connection to something bigger than himself. After St. Pauli, he moved on loan to VfB Stuttgart, another step closer to the Bundesliga spotlight. Stuttgart was different. Higher expectations, bigger crowds, more pressure. But by then Omar was ready. "I know who I am now," he said. "I know how to survive." He wasn't the shy boy from Cairo anymore. He was a professional, calm, confident, hungry. At Stuttgart, he began showing flashes of something special. His speed terrified defenders. His first touch, once too heavy, now felt like silk. And his composure in front of goal, the pause before shooting, the small breath, became his signature. "He plays like he's seen this before," a journalist wrote. "Like he's dreaming with his eyes open." But beyond the goals and assists, it was his mentality that impressed everyone. "He never complains," said a teammate. "Even when he doesn't play, he trains like he's in a final." That quiet professionalism earned respect. "You can't teach that," said the coach. "You can only live it." When his loan ended, Wolfsburg wanted him back. "He's ready," they said. And he was. He returned stronger, smarter, more complete. But something had changed inside him. The shy boy who once whispered prayers for courage now whispered gratitude. Every hard day, he said, was a gift. He knew now that success wasn't about talent alone. It was about patience, the kind he learned in Cairo and the kind Germany demanded. It was about humility, knowing that no matter how far you go, you're still the same person who once played barefoot in the street. And it was about faith, faith in work, in destiny. in the idea that everything happens exactly when it should. That belief carried him through the loneliness, through the cold mornings, through the moments when it would have been easier to give up. People see the goals, he said. They don't see the nights you cry alone. But those nights, he realized, were what built him. Omar Marmoush had crossed worlds, from Cairo's dust to Germany's discipline, from chaos to control. And he had done it quietly, step by step, without ever losing his rhythm. "It's strange," he said one evening after training, "but when I run, I still hear Cairo. The noise, the laughter, the energy, it all lived inside him, guiding his every move. Because no matter how far he went, he knew one truth, that dreams don't erase where you come from. They illuminate it." By the time Omar Marmoush returned to Wolfsburg, he was no longer a stranger to German football. He had felt its coldness, understood its rhythm, and learned its language, not through words but through repetition, pain, and persistence. "You don't really live in Germany," he once said with a smile. "You earn it one day at a time." He came back stronger, but not just in body. Something in his mind had shifted. He had learned the hardest lesson, that talent gets you noticed, but discipline keeps you there. Training at Wolfsburg was relentless. The sessions started before the sun rose, and every detail mattered. The weight of the pass, the timing of the press, the shape of your run, there was no improvisation. It was football reduced to precision, like engineering. For a boy who grew up playing barefoot on broken concrete, it was another world. But instead of fighting it, Omar embraced it. "You can't change the rules," he said. "You can only learn how to dance inside them." His days became routine. Wake up early, eat, train, recover, watch film, sleep. And in that routine, he found peace. The chaos of Cairo had taught him to move fast. Germany taught him to move right. "In Egypt, we played for joy," he said. "Here, we play for perfection." Both mattered. And slowly, he began to merge them. His teammates noticed the difference. "He's quiet," one defender said. "But he never stops learning." In tactical meetings, Omar sat at the front, eyes fixed on the screen, studying movement like a scientist. The coaches began trusting him more. They liked his humility, his willingness to adapt. "He's become German," one of them joked. Omar laughed. "Maybe a little," he said. But inside, he knew, he was still Cairo. The breakthrough didn't happen overnight. Came in fragments. A good performance in training, a smart pass in a friendly, a strong cameo off the bench. Slowly, his name began appearing in matchday squads again. "Be patient," his coach told him. "Your time will come." That sentence had followed him his entire life, in Egypt, in Hamburg, in Stuttgart. But now, for the first time, it didn't sound like a delay. It sounded like destiny. During one cold December evening, Wolfsburg faced a tough opponent. Injuries meant Omar was finally starting. It was snowing, small white flakes falling on his gloves as he stood in the tunnel. He whispered a short prayer, the same one he said before every match. "Let me honor the game." When the whistle blew, everything disappeared. The cold, the pressure, the doubts. He played with rhythm. He ran at defenders, pressed, fought, smiled. His movements were sharp, deliberate. In the 68th minute, he scored. Not a spectacular goal, but a perfect one. A run time to the second. A touch calm enough to silence the world. He didn't celebrate wildly. He just looked up, raised his hands, and breathed. This, he thought, is what all those lonely nights were for. After the match, the coach pulled him aside. "That's the German way," he said. "You did it your way, but you did it within the system." That sentence stayed with him. It was more than praise. It was validation. He had learned how to exist between two worlds, freedom and structure, chaos and control. "It's like music," he said later. "You can play jazz, but you still have to stay in rhythm." The more he played, the more confident he became. Reporters began writing about him. The Egyptian engine, Wolfsburg's silent storm. He didn't read the headlines. Fame wasn't the goal. Consistency was. "Anyone can shine once," he said. "But the real players shine again and again." He spent hours watching his own footage, pausing, rewinding, studying small details. "If you fix one mistake every day," he said, "in a year, you're a different player." Off the pitch, he lived simply. A small apartment, home-cooked meals, quiet evenings. No nightlife, no drama. He spoke with his parents often, always ending the call with the same sentence. "I'm still learning." His mother would smile. "That's good," she'd say. "When you stop learning, you stop growing." The Wolfsburg staff loved his attitude. "He's professional beyond his age," said one coach. "He never complains, never hides." Even when he was benched, he stayed ready. He didn't sulk. He trained harder. "You don't need the spotlight," he told a younger teammate. "You just need light." That year, he became known for his versatility. Winger, forward, even attacking midfielder when needed. "Put him anywhere," his coach said. "He'll adapt." That adaptability made him invaluable. It wasn't luck. It was survival instinct. "When you come from where I come from," Omar said, "you learn to fit into every room." His faith remained central. Before every match, he'd whisper verses under his breath. It wasn't superstition. It was grounding. "Faith keeps me calm," he said. "It reminds me that football is just one part of life, not all of it." That calm showed on the pitch. Even in high-pressure moments, he looked composed. "He plays like time moves slower for him," a commentator said. That's confidence built from discipline. When Wolfsburg offered him an extension, it felt like confirmation that he had arrived. "He's earned our trust," the sporting director said. Omar thanked them quietly, signing without hesitation. He didn't ask about salary or bonuses. "I just want to play," he said. But deep inside, he knew something bigger was coming. A new challenge. A new stage. The Bundesliga was no longer a dream. It was home. Yet he wanted more. "Every time I reach a goal," he said, "I see another one waiting." That hunger, polite but relentless, became his engine. The turning point came when Egypt called. His first national team call-up? The phone rang late at night. "Omar," the voice said, "you're representing your country." He froze. "Really? Really?" He sat on his bed in silence, eyes closed, whispering thanks. That night he couldn't sleep. "This is for my parents," he said. "For Cairo. For every kid who plays barefoot." When he landed in Cairo again, wearing European clothes, carrying professional boots, he wasn't the same boy who left. The air smelled the same, but it felt different. "I'm back," he whispered, "but I'm not home." Not yet. Because now, home wasn't just Cairo. It was everywhere the game took him. In training with the Egyptian team, he saw the difference immediately. The flair, the emotion, the raw energy. "This is where I started," he said. "And this is what I needed to remember." He fit right in, disciplined, fast, fearless. The coaches admired his maturity. "He brings calm," they said. "He plays like a man who's seen two worlds." When he made his debut for Egypt, the crowd was electric. Flags waved, drums pounded, chants filled the night. He felt something deep, pride, gratitude, purpose. "When you wear your country's colors," he said, "you don't just play for fans. You play for history." He didn't score that night, but he didn't need to. His performance spoke for itself. Confident, intelligent, composed. "He plays like he's carrying something sacred," said the commentator. Back in Germany, he kept evolving. The discipline, the culture, the cold. None of it scared him anymore. "You can only be uncomfortable for so long," he said. "Then you grow." That growth showed in everything, his touch, his movement, his voice. He had become not just a player, but a professional. His story was spreading. From Cairo's dusty alleys to Bundesliga stadiums, kids in Egypt started following his games, dreaming through him. "He's one of us," they said. Omar didn't see himself as a star. "I'm just someone who didn't stop," he said. That's all. He learned the German way, not by losing his identity, but by strengthening it. Germany didn't erase his Cairo roots. It gave them shape. It taught him how to turn chaos into craft, how to channel passion into precision. "You can take the boy out of Cairo," he said, "but you can't take Cairo out of the boy." And when he stood one evening after training, looking out at the snow falling over the empty stadium, he smiled. Maybe this is what peace feels like, he thought. Not silence, not success, but the quiet certainty that he had become exactly who he was meant to be. There comes a moment in every footballer's journey when discipline must meet instinct, when lessons give way to courage. For Omar Marmoush, that moment came in the Bundesliga, under bright lights against defenders twice his size, with stadiums roaring and millions watching. This was the stage he had worked for, But more than that, this was the fight he had been preparing his whole life to win. "You can't just play here," he said once. "You have to survive. The transition from promise to presence is never smooth." At first, every match felt like a test. The intensity was brutal. Every touch mattered. Every mistake was punished. The defenders were faster, stronger, smarter. "In Germany," Omar said, "they don't give you space. You have to steal it." And so he did. With every sprint, every tackle, every duel, he earned his right to exist on that pitch. He began to play with something new, not just confidence, but conviction. His runs were sharper, his dribbles more deliberate. He didn't chase the game anymore. He commanded it. "When I was young, I used to play to prove myself," he said. "Now I play because I belong." That shift changed everything. His first real breakthrough came on a gray afternoon in Stuttgart. The team was desperate for a win. The match was rough, physical, full of tension. The 82nd minute, with the score still level, Omar found himself one-on-one with a defender near the box. He faked left, cut right, and struck low into the corner. The net rippled. For a moment, the stadium froze and then erupted. He ran to the corner flag, arms wide, face calm. "That was the first time I heard my name sung in Germany," he said later. It didn't sound foreign anymore. From that day, he wasn't just a prospect. He was a fighter. He started every match like it might be his last, pressing relentlessly, chasing every ball. "He plays like he's running from something," a commentator said. Maybe he was, from the doubt, the distance, the loneliness. Or maybe he was running toward something bigger, the man he had always dreamed of becoming. His teammates respected him instantly. Not because he talked the loudest, but because he worked the hardest. "He never stops," one of them said. "You can't train like him. He's built different." Even when training ended, he'd stay on the pitch, practicing finishing, footwork, or positioning. "Every session is a gift," he said. "Why would I waste it?" Fans began to notice the pattern. Every time Omar lost the ball, he'd win it back within seconds. That hunger became his signature. He wasn't just playing to score. He was playing to fight. "I came from a place where you had to fight for everything," he said. That never leaves you. But for all his intensity, he carried calm within it. His celebrations were never wild. His interviews were humble. "I just try to do my job," he'd say softly. "The rest is up to God." That humility drew people to him. Reporters called him the quiet warrior. Coaches called him dependable. Opponents called him annoying. Everyone was right. The Bundesliga crowd, known for passion and honesty, embraced him. They respected effort, and Omar gave everything. "Fans can feel honesty," he said. "You can't fake work." Week by week, he became a name that carried weight. Not flashy, not dramatic, but reliable. The kind of player you trust when the game is on the line. There was a fire in his eyes that reminded people of where he came from. Cairo wasn't gone. It lived in every sprint, every tackle, every smile after a hard game. "I'm still that kid from the street," he said. "Just playing on a bigger street now." That line spread through social media, turning into a quote that fans loved. It summed him up perfectly: humble, grounded, fearless. Of course, success came with challenges. The schedule was brutal. The travel constant. Injuries inevitable. There were weeks when his body screamed for rest. But he didn't stop. "If you stop for pain," he said, "you'll never start again." He learned to manage it. Ice baths, long stretches, quiet nights. His discipline became his protection. "Consistency," he said, "isn't about talent. It's about habits." His connection with his family stayed strong. Every week, no matter how late the match, he called his parents. His mother's voice always calmed him. "Are you eating enough?" She'd ask. "Are you praying?" He'd laugh. "Yes, Mama, always." His father didn't say much, just a simple, "We're proud of you." Those words meant more than any headline. At Wolfsburg, his confidence began to blossom fully. The coaches trusted him with big games. "He's fearless," said one assistant. "He doesn't see opponents. He sees opportunities." His energy lifted the whole team. When he pressed, they pressed. When he smiled, they relaxed. He became the kind of player who changes the tempo just by being there. There were moments of frustration, too. Missed chances, defeats, criticism. But Omar handled them with grace. "In Egypt, we learn early, life isn't fair. You just keep moving." He never argued with referees, never blamed teammates. He just ran harder. That attitude turned setbacks into momentum. "You can't break a man who's already been through storms," said his coach. One night, after scoring in back-to-back matches, a journalist asked him what his secret was. He thought for a moment, then smiled. "I stopped chasing perfection," he said. "Now I chase peace." That became his mantra. Football for him wasn't just work anymore. It was meditation. "When I'm on the pitch," he said, "the world makes sense." His teammates admired how he balanced faith and football. Before every kickoff, he'd close his eyes for a moment, whispering quietly. "It's not superstition," he explained. "It's gratitude." That mindset gave him calm in the chaos. Even in hostile stadiums, when fans booed or cursed, he smiled. "You can't hate someone who plays with love," he said once. Off the pitch, he stayed the same. Modest clothes, small circle of friends, quiet weekends. "People think success changes you," he said. "It only shows who you really were." Fame didn't tempt him. Money didn't distract him. He still remembered the boy who played barefoot in Cairo's alleys, chasing a half-flat ball, dreaming of fields that didn't exist. "I owe him everything," he said. By now, young Egyptian players were watching him closely. His story spread back home. The boy who made it to Europe, who fought, who never gave up. "He's our proof," one teenager said in an interview. "If Omar did it, maybe we can too." That, more than goals or trophies, meant everything to him. "If my story helps one kid believe," he said, "then I've already won." And yet, despite the admiration, he stayed hungry. "Every time I score," he said, "I think of the next one. Every time I win, I think of what's next." That's not pressure. That's purpose. That quiet, endless purpose defined him. He didn't burn out. He burned steady. There was one moment that summed it all up. A late goal against a top side. The crowd exploding, his teammates piling on him. Amid the chaos, cameras caught his face. Calm, smiling, peaceful. "He's a fighter," said the commentator, "but he fights with grace." And maybe that's what made Omar Marmoush special. Not the goals, not the speed, not even the success, but the balance. The ability to fight without losing peace. The ability to chase dreams without forgetting home. The ability to play with fire and never get burned. He had become what Germany had taught him to be, a professional, but he had also kept what Cairo had made him, a dreamer. And together those two worlds made something rare, a fighter with rhythm. When you wear your country's colors, something changes inside you. The pitch feels heavier, the air thicker. Every step carries memory, of home, of childhood, of millions who dream through you. For Omar Marmoush, that realization came the first time he stood on the pitch in Cairo, wearing the red of Egypt. The crowd was deafening, flags waving like fire, the anthem rising over the noise. "You don't play for yourself anymore," he said. "You play for everyone who believes." Representing Egypt was more than an honor. It was a responsibility. Every child in Cairo, Alexandria, or Aswan who kicked a ball barefoot had felt that same dream. "When they look at me," he said, "I see who I used to be." That awareness gave him focus. It wasn't about fame. It was about purpose. His first matches were emotional. The pace was different from Germany, less structured, more raw. The passion of African football is something you don't measure in passes or stats. It lives in the heartbeats of the crowd. Every dribble is a roar, every tackle a prayer. Omar had to adjust again. "You can't control this," he smiled. "You have to feel it," and he did. His calm, his patience, his discipline, they blended perfectly with the energy around him. "He brings balance," said one teammate. "He's like ice and fire." The Egyptian fans quickly embraced him. They saw themselves in him. Humble, hard-working, proud. "He's not a superstar," one fan said. "He's one of us." The newspapers began calling him the bridge, between Egypt and Europe, between chaos and control. That description fit him perfectly. "I am both," he said once in an interview. "Cairo taught me to dream. Germany taught me to build." During his first African Cup of Nations, he felt the full weight of the shirt. The heat was suffocating, the pitches rough, the pressure immense. But Omar thrived under it. "When things get hard," he said, "I remember the street games in Cairo, those were harder." Every match he ran tirelessly, pressing, creating, fighting for every ball. He wasn't the flashiest player, but he was the most consistent. "You always know what you'll get from him," said his coach. Discipline, energy, faith. Egypt's national team carried history. The ghosts of legends like Aboutrika and Salah hovered over every player who came after them. Omar didn't try to imitate them. He respected them deeply, but he wanted to add his own voice to the story. They opened the doors, he said. I just want to walk through and hold them open for the next ones. Before every game, he followed the same ritual. He'd stand quietly during the anthem, eyes closed, whispering a short prayer under his breath. His teammates teased him sometimes. Omar, what are you saying to God? He'd smile. Just thank you. That gratitude guided him everywhere, from the heat of Africa to the cold of Germany. One night in a World Cup qualifier against Nigeria, he scored his first goal for Egypt, a curling shot from the edge of the box that silenced the stadium before it exploded. He didn't celebrate wildly. He put his hand to his heart, kissed the badge, and looked up. For Cairo, he whispered. That clip went viral back home. Millions watched it on their phones, replaying the moment, proud tears in their eyes. He's our boy, they said. He made it. After the match, he called his parents. His mother was crying. You made Egypt proud, she said. He smiled. I made you proud. That's all I wanted. For Omar, success had always been personal before it was public. But the road in international football is never smooth. Criticism came, as it always does. He doesn't score enough. He's too quiet. He's not like Salah. Omar never replied. You can't please everyone, he said. But you can always work. And he did, training harder, studying more, staying ready. Pressure, he said, means people care. That's a blessing. The national team staff loved his attitude. He brings calm to the camp, one of them said. Even when things go wrong, he stays the same. That steadiness made him invaluable. When Egypt went behind in a match, it was often Omar who lifted the team. Not with words, but with action. A run, a press, a recovery. He led by doing. He began mentoring the younger players, just as others once guided him. Don't be afraid, he told them. You belong here. They listened because his words came from experience, not ego. He's like an older brother, said one teammate. He shows us what being a professional really means. At tournaments, he became known for his quiet rituals, always the first to training, always the last to leave, always helping the kit men carry equipment. It's respect, he said. You respect the game, the people, the work. That's how you stay grounded. The journalists noticed, too. He's a modern Egyptian leader, one article read. Not through speeches, but through serenity. His faith remained central. Ramadan was always difficult during competitions, but he never complained. Faith is strength, he said. When you do things for the right reason, your body follows. He fasted quietly, trained hard, and played harder. His discipline inspired not only his teammates, but fans around the world, who saw that spirituality and success could coexist. As his reputation grew, so did the expectations. People began to see him not just as a player, but as a symbol of Egypt's future, of African persistence, of humble greatness. That was heavy to carry, but Omar carried it with grace. If my journey helps someone believe, he said, then it's worth the wait. During one interview, a reporter asked him what being Egyptian meant to him. He paused before answering. It means you don't quit, he said. Even when you're tired. Even when you're far from home. Egypt teaches you how to fight, not with anger but with heart. That quote spread quickly. Fans printed it on banners, players repeated it in interviews. It became a small piece of his legacy. He often spoke about Africa with deep pride. People talk about Europe like it's the top, he said. But Africa is where you learn to survive. That's where football still lives in the streets, in the soul. That's where it breathes. He wanted the world to see African football not as raw or chaotic, but as poetic, full of emotion, rhythm, and resilience. We don't play from tactics, he said. We play from memory. Back in Germany, his confidence from representing Egypt began to show in his club performances. He looked freer, more expressive. When you play for your country, he said, you learn courage. His coaches noticed that too. He came back different, one of them said. More complete. More mature. The international stage had given him perspective, not just about football, but about life. He started using his platform to inspire others. In interviews, he talked about hard work, about believing in yourself even when no one does. He didn't preach. He just told the truth. I wasn't born with a silver spoon, he said. I was born with a ball and a dream. That honesty resonated with people, from Cairo to Frankfurt, from small villages to crowded cities. And when asked what his proudest moment was, he didn't mention goals or trophies. He said, "When I walk out for Egypt and hear the anthem. Every time, because that sound, that's home." The more he played, the more he realized that his journey wasn't just about football. It was about identity, the ability to stay yourself no matter where life takes you. Germany taught me order, he said. Egypt taught me soul. Together they made me whole. When he looked at the Egyptian fans in the stands, faces painted red, white, and black, voices loud and endless, he didn't see pressure. He saw family. "We're all part of the same story," he said. "Mine just happens to be on the field." And that story, written in both dust and discipline, became something larger than he ever imagined. A story not just of goals or games, but of gratitude, of grace, of growth. Because Omar Marmoush was no longer just a footballer, he was Egypt's voice, calm, proud, and unbreakable. When Omar Marmoush signed for Manchester City, it didn't feel real at first. The sky over Manchester was grey, the rain soft and endless, and yet there was something peaceful about it. "This weather," he said with a small smile, "feels like patience." For a boy who grew up chasing dreams on dusty streets, the moment was surreal. Not because of fame or money, but because it meant the circle had closed. From Cairo to Wolfsburg, from Egypt's red to city's blue, his journey had stretched across continents. But through it all, he had never stopped being himself. "Every city changes your life," he said, "but only if you let it." The move came after a season in Frankfurt that had changed everything. He had been their spark, fast, fearless, relentless. He played like a man possessed, not to impress, but to prove that consistency was his strength. "Every game," he said, "I remind myself, this could be the one that changes everything." And it did. Scouts from England started calling, and when City came, there was no hesitation. Pep Guardiola wanted him, not just as a player, but as a mind. "He's intelligent," Pep said. "He moves like he's solving a puzzle." Arriving at the Etihad felt like entering another universe. The training ground gleamed like glass, the atmosphere calm but electric. The first time he met Guardiola, he felt the same quiet authority he'd known in Germany, but deeper. "Pep doesn't just see football," Omar said. "He sees life through it." Their conversation was short. "Welcome," Pep said. "You already know why you're here, not to copy anyone, but to add something." Omar nodded. That was all he needed to hear. City's dressing room was a world of stars. Haaland, De Bruyne, Foden, Bernardo. But Omar didn't feel out of place. He had earned this. "You learn that names don't win games," he said. "Work does." In training, he was relentless, pressing, smiling, studying every movement. Pep noticed. "He listens," he told his staff. "And he thinks." That's rare. His teammates respected him quickly. They saw his quiet focus, his humility, his effort. "He's the first one in, the last one out," said Foden. "He trains like he's still fighting to make it." That's because, in a way, he always was. For Omar, success never meant arriving. It meant continuing. "You can't stop climbing," he said. "There's always another step." His first match in a City shirt came in front of a roaring Etihad crowd. The lights were bright, the music loud, but he felt calm. "I've played in silence before," he thought. "Noise doesn't scare me anymore." When he stepped onto the pitch, the moment hit him. From Cairo's dust to Manchester's rain, from lonely nights in Germany to the world stage. He whispered a quiet prayer, "Let me play with peace." And he did. From his debut onward, he brought something City didn't know it needed: rhythm. His runs were unpredictable. His link-up play fluid, his decisions precise. "He moves differently," Haaland said. "Like he's hearing music the rest of us don't." Pep smiled when asked about him. "He's balanced," he said. "He connects emotion with structure." The press called him the calm storm. The fans started chanting his name with curiosity at first, then with pride. His energy wasn't chaotic like others. It was composed, almost poetic. "He's not loud," one journalist wrote. "He's deliberate, and that's what makes him dangerous." Outside football, Omar lived quietly, just as always. A modest house, family visits, long walks after matches. Manchester's rain didn't bother him. "I like it," he said. "It teaches patience." He often spent evenings watching old matches, not his own, but from Egypt, from St. Pauli, from Stuttgart. "You can't forget the steps that brought you here," he said. "If you forget, you lose your roots." He talked to young players in the academy sometimes, especially those far from home. "You'll miss your family," he told them. "You'll feel lost. But if you keep working, if you keep believing, you'll find peace." They listened because they saw truth in him. He didn't preach. He just lived it. His bond with Pep deepened quickly. They spoke not only about tactics but about mindset. "Football," Pep said one afternoon, "is about control, of the ball, of space, of emotion." Omar nodded. "And of silence," he added. Pep smiled. "Exactly." They understood each other, two men obsessed with details, with the balance between chaos and calm. "He reminds me of players I love," Pep said. "Not because of what he does, but because of how he thinks." When the Champions League anthem played for the first time with him in the lineup, Omar closed his eyes for a moment. "I used to watch this on TV," he thought. "Now I'm in it." The match was intense, but he didn't flinch. He played like he belonged, linking perfectly with Foden and De Bruyne, pressing with precision. "He plays with no fear," said the commentator. "He plays with memory." The goal came in the 67th minute, a 1-2 with Bernardo, a sharp cut, and a calm finish into the bottom corner. He didn't celebrate wildly. He just smiled, pointing to the sky. "For Cairo," he whispered again. Every goal, every success, it always led back home. After the match, reporters crowded around him. "First Champions League goal for City. How does it feel?" He paused, then said simply, "It feels like peace." The headline the next day read, "Marmoush brings calm to chaos." His teammates loved him more each day. "He's quiet, but he has presence," De Bruyne said. "He reminds us that football doesn't need noise. It needs clarity." Guardiola went further. "He's one of the most intelligent players I've ever coached," he said. "He listens, he adapts, he feels the game." Outside the stadiums, his impact stretched beyond football. In Egypt, his rise to Manchester City became a story of hope. Proof that a boy from the streets could reach the top without losing himself. "He didn't change," one Cairo journalist wrote. "He evolved." Children in Egypt started wearing light blue shirts with his name on the back. "He's our bridge to the world," said one fan. Omar stayed humble. He donated quietly to football schools back home, funding new pitches and gear for kids who had nothing but dreams. "Someone once gave me a chance," he said. "Now it's my turn." When asked why he never made a big deal about it, he smiled. "Good deeds don't need cameras," he said. As seasons passed, his influence in City grew. Not through words, but through example. In training, he worked like a newcomer. In matches, he played like a veteran. "You can build a team around people like him," said Rodri. "He gives everything without needing to be seen." And yet, beyond the goals, the assists, and the trophies, what defined Omar Marmoush was the way he carried himself. Calm in chaos, humble in glory. He didn't fight for attention. He fought for meaning. "When you find peace in your work," he said, "you stop chasing noise." He often visited the Etihad pitch alone after matches when everyone else had left. The lights dimmed, the seats empty, the grass glistening under the rain. He'd walk slowly, hands in pockets, breathing in the cold air. This, he thought, is where all the noise becomes silence. Sometimes he'd whisper softly in Arabic, thanking God for the path that had led him there. In those moments, it was as if Cairo, Hamburg, Stuttgart, Frankfurt, and Manchester all existed in one heartbeat, one long journey condensed into stillness. "Home," he said once, "isn't a place anymore. It's a feeling." When he spoke to young reporters, his advice was simple. "Don't chase fame," he said. "Chase growth. Don't shout to be heard. Whisper with purpose." That became the essence of who he was. The Egyptian dreamer who learned the German way and perfected it under the English sky. As one journalist wrote in a tribute piece, Omar Marmoush didn't just travel from Cairo to Manchester. He traveled from chaos to control, from noise to peace, and brought the world with him. And maybe that's the truth of his story. He didn't just cross borders. He erased them. Because no matter where he plays, under the African sun or the English rain, Omar Marmoush plays the same game. With patience, with purpose, with peace.